Well, here's hoping that there's no audio issues. I think I got all the lights on the way I need them to. It's kind of strange. Daylight savings is kicked in enough so that it's actually daylight while I'm streaming. It's kind of cool. Hey, Anzan, always happy to hear you chirp in. Ni hao. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So here we are. You know what I'm going to do first before I get into talking about the Endless March? I'm going to do a book review. I got a bunch of books. I'm not going to share the reference books. I got a whole bunch of Viking reference books for a project I want to do later. But I got some books in the mail this week. First off is Mark Nelson's Thunder Hunters, which I backed through Zoop. It's a beautiful hardcover book. I was leery about doing a hardcover, but it's like, oh, so good. And here's his portrait of Alphonse Williamson, Alois Goodwin. Very beautiful. Just beautiful, beautiful drawing. I've been a huge fan of his work. I think I saw his work in role-playing games before I saw him do the Alien comic for Dark Horse. And I've been a monster fan of his work ever since. And this is just a beautiful, beautiful book, going from pen and ink, the full color, to tonal drawings on tone paper. I believe this is digital coloring over tone paper drawing. I could be wrong. It's just so beautiful. And after, of course, I backed it, I saw what he was doing for his tip-in sheet. And had opportunity, I would have gone back and got it. But so there's that. Dump this over there on the floor unceremoniously. This book, I only heard about this because on Cartoonist Kayfabe, they were talking about it. Now, the print quality is not the best. It's not terrible, but it's not the best. It's I got to say, the interior printing for a print-on-demand book, which is what I think this is, because this is Shift Presents. I'm not sure who the hell they are, but I really get the sense going through it and from feeling the paper that this is using the print-on-demand presses from Amazon. I should look in. It just feels like it. I could be wrong. Maybe it might be another. They might have used a different printing service that does similar things. So the interior printing is actually really remarkable. It's a little iffy with the halftone here, but I don't know what the quality of the scans of the pencils for the story here is. Oh yeah, here we go. Perfect. I should have just looked. Manufactured by Amazon.ca, Bolton, Ontario. So it could be that maybe in the UK, they actually printed them, and then they did this to avoid having to ship overseas. But I have a feeling that everything's all right. There's a softness to the line on the cover stock, and the cover stock isn't really, even though it's coated, it's curving. It's not like good coated stock. So, but I mean, if you're a Brian Bolland fan, like I am, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous collection of all his Bishop and the Actress stories. I just love his line work. I mean, I'd go crazy trying to be that tight all the time. In fact, for a point in my career, I was trying to be that super precise in my line work, but that was when I was just penciling. I much prefer my loosey-goosey approach now. But so that's good. I think this is like only like $20 or something. So it's an amazing price for a beautiful, beautiful little book. So, and honestly, the Brian Bolland pencils in it are just stunning. And this one, I think I've talked about Toppi before. I believe it's pronounced Toppi, not Toppi. I believe this is the latest collection of his work. There's no color work on the inside, so it looks like they dropped to a matte paper for printing, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. I just love, love, love my Toppi. I think I got all of them. This is from Magnetic Press, I believe. Magnetic Press. They have like 10 volumes of his comics collected in hardcover. And there's like 3 volumes, one of them of his tarot drawings, one of his biblical drawings, one of his drawings for military historical magazines. There might be more, So that means there's at least like 13 books of Toppi. If you're a Toppi nut like me, you're going to get them all. I just love these. And the other thing I got in the mail was Project Cryptid. So my editor for Second Coming asked if I was interested in doing a short story for the Ahoy's Project Cryptid. And first off, I'm going to show off. Here's Joseph Illage and Jamal Eigel and Juan Castro. Juan Castro on inks here. Did a beautiful little black and white story here. And I like the idea that they decided just to go black and white with this one. What's weird, though, is Juan Castro is also in this book. I don't want to spoil the story because he does my flats. So I want to make sure I don't want to screw up his name because I said it wrong once already. A.A. Rubin. I was actually going to say A. Rubin, but it's A.A. Rubin. Wrote this. A cool little Sasquatch story. Completely mirrored all the way through it. And so I penciled and inked, and Juan did the flats for it, and I did the color finishes on it. So I don't want to spoil it too much, but I think it printed really nicely. Every time I color my work and I see how it prints, I learn a little bit more about how to color my work for the next time. But I'm pretty happy how this turned out. And as of course, Ahoy always has more stuff. They have a fun little poem at the back here. And so this is Ahoy, and Ahoy always runs usually a virgin cover, but this is their way of showing the contents with 2 images. So, but yeah, for Second Coming, when it's like my cover here, they'll show the full cover on the back with any other text or anything. So it's pretty cool. So that was my mail run this week. So, that's my chatter here. Here we go. Sound is clear. That's good. I still haven't seen the first Savage Sword Dude. I haven't gone to a comic shop because I've just been working like mad for the last little bit. I do know there were some issues around the printing. So hopefully those will all be settled before my issue comes out. Okay. Yeah. Oh, so that was Brian Boland doing his book. That's great. And Toppi is phenomenal. Yes, he is. All right. So this is Endless March so far. So this is the thing that inadvertently started it, my doing a portrait of Taffeta Darling's death cosplay. Pretty much it was her face that was like really triggered. I kind of gave a different body and everything, but and then Pete Morton, and of course, I think I talked about this before because I openly screwed. I know how much I screwed it up. I accidentally put the E on the end of Mort instead of on Petite, so I fixed that. But and also added some textures to the feet here, a little bit of grayscale there. So I was really happy with that one, and just reignited my love of drawing these characters. So then, of course, I did Sandman. And that was like 2 weeks ago. I actually did go back and add a little bit of chain to imply that he's got a pocket watch, or that's where he keeps his gem. So I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. Again, getting a little bit of text in there. And then here is Desire, the one I started last week, and I finished. So I got mirror images of presenting feminine, presenting masculine desire. I was adding texture. I wanted like more of a weird graphic approach to the background. And while I'm adding them, I said, you know what? What if I took an eraser and turned it into a rubber stamp? So I just cut a chunk out of a poly eraser, whatever soft neat eraser, and I just stamped it and I let it fade. So I got this nice fade effect for Desire. And of course, I think if you guys remember, there's the text handling for Desire, mirroring it. So the suggestion is that the desires are mirroring of each other, but it's really just extremities. So in Desire exists between them as well. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I did a lot of rubber stamping in this. I did some rubber stamping in the pants to get a bit of a fade going up. The trousers, so it's like nice and dark here at the bottom, mirroring the darkness up there, allowing that to pop, and the bottom to pop. So that was my visual approach to that. But today's DeliRiuM. So, and not just 2 panels for this one. If you can see it on the screen, there's going to be 3 different DeliRiuM drawings on top. what I did with the text here, which was fun. Then 3 more DeliRiuM drawings here at the bottom. So next week is Destiny, and I'm just going to do the one Destiny drawing. This is getting out of hand, but I was thinking about the various takes on DeliRiuM through the comics, and I had to think, were she of the right age now? I think she would have been perfect when she first broke into media. I know DeliRiuM is largely based on Tori Amos, but I think a young Natasha Lyonne would have been perfect as DeliRiuM. So that's kind of informing what I'm doing here. In fact, I was looking at a Natasha Lyonne picture when I drew this face. I should have tried to find a picture of Natasha sticking her tongue out. That was just the best I could do. I don't think I caught any likeness because that's just an extreme thing. And the face is largely covered up here, but I think I got Natasha's smile there. And I'm also waffling around from giving her a full head of curls in a bunch of these, and also the half shaved head. And if this was colored, that would have been, different rainbow colors going in. So this is what I'm doing this week for DeliRiuM. Also, I of course, these are digitally done because I'm just not that good a letterer, but I can play with text really well, I think. And this is also me trying to mimic how goofy the lettering was for DeliRiuM in the Sandman comic. Now, I did not trust myself I'm not a great letterer by any stretch of imagination. I did not trust myself to get that right on the actual page. And also just thought an upside down DeliRiuM would be nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to do any background in that panel. I just think her being upside down saying hello is just good enough on its own. So yeah, so that was that's the start of tonight's episode. I hope you like doing me showing off the books. As I get them, I think I'm going to do that more. But I also think I like talking about my book collection. So there's a part of me that wants to share books with you guys. So if you like that, I'll make that a regular feature. Too busy this week. Didn't see any movies in theater. I tried to watch a couple of things. I tried watching Madame Web. A friend of mine sent me a screener because he worked on the production. He had leftover screeners to send out, and they don't watch after the movie's been out and it's bombed. He sent it to me, and I tried to watch it. I think I got into the 10, 15 minutes into it. There's no matter how much money they spend on it, if it's a truly bad movie, it almost has this narrative stink to it, like right from the start. In Madame Web, I feel so bad for every creative involved in that movie, because you just get a sense from it that at no point did any of the people in suits let someone with a real creative vision. Oh, hang on, this light went out. There we go. Oh, that's a lot better. I was wondering what the heck my screen looked good. Yeah, okay. I'll keep. Oh, hey, actually, this also showed up. Ordered it immediately after a discussion we had a little while ago, but that showed up last week and I forgot to talk about it. Someone down the road may want me to draw Quorum. I'm not quite sure who, but it was great. I've already read about 100 pages. Where's my book? My bookmarks on in it. Where? Shoot. Anyway, I finished the first book and I was into the second book, so it's about 100 some odd pages in. But yeah. What else did I try and watch that I gave up on? You know what? It's so visually engaging, but Poor Little Thing. Is it Poor Things or Poor Little Things? The one that was like, it had over the top design, great acting, but it felt like watching an extended bordering on pedophilia movie. I think it's Poor Things with Emma, blanking on her name. I wanted to like that movie so much. It just looked so visually engaging. But as soon as they established she essentially had the Poor Things, yeah. As soon as they established that she had the mind of a child, and then she spent most of the movie having sex with everybody, I felt that they were I get that they thought they were taking risks. Wow, well, maybe this lamp's starting to go. Might have to buy a new desk lamp. I just couldn't keep watching it. I tried. I mean, Mark Ruffalo was clearly fearless. Willem Dafoe is always worth a watch, but I just couldn't with that movie. It just felt too. Yeah, I don't know. I have a real hard no when it comes to things that actually just let any sort of like pedophilia, child rape things go. I just couldn't. So maybe I'm just thank you, Daniel. And hiya. Yeah, Emma Stone. She's such a good actor. Everyone in that movie is so good, and yet I couldn't bring myself to watch it. I hate to think I'm like creatively prudish that way, but it's like I just couldn't. I'm drawing the fish. I feel it's almost ever since Bill Sienkiewicz did that amazing painting with the fish on top of DeliRiuM's eye, and there's a whole bunch of fish in the comics, of course, floating around her. I just feel that fish are almost mandatory with when you're drawing DeliRiuM. Extend that a little bit. So if you enjoyed the movie, that's great. But I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. It was just too. Yeah, every time she had sex with a different character, I was like, okay, I guess they're playing around with some sort of liberation angle, but wasn't working for me, man. Good thing I don't have daughters. Just got my son, my giant son. And he's 26, so I mean, it's like I don't have to be squeamish about any of that crap around him. You know, I don't think I even made it to the frog. I watched it. I let it play, and what I did though is I focused on my work and just looked up every once in a while, and that's when I realized there was a lot of like, what the hell are they doing with all this sex? And in many ways, you get a sense where it's like, yeah, these are really fearless performances dealing with taboos, which is normally enough to get me going, but yeah, I will just inevitably keep coming back to the idea that no, I just can't. As soon as they established she had a mind of a child, which made her pure, they didn't even think for a moment. Like, okay, so she's got the mind of a child, but she's going to have all this sex. I'm not big on children having sex. I mean, it's just a hard no for me. So maybe I'm just artistically prudish. I mean, at least Lolita, like if I want to talk about something that plays with that, at least Lolita really established there was something wrong with the guys going after Lolita. Although it's been forever since I read it. And I'm not eager to go back and read it because, similar reasons. Wow, that fish, I should just draw nothing but fish. Yeah, so I think I missed the frog. Yeah, she's the unborn child, so she has the mind of a child. It's just I just couldn't, guys. Sorry. I have my limits. Trying to think. I did watch a couple of okay recent movies. Nothing spectacular. Oh, what's it? Pete Davidson has a new comedy special out, and it was actually good. Now that is a comedian who manages to be edgy and cool and transgressive without attacking anyone. So you don't have to like Pete Davidson, but in terms of like every stand-up comedian thinking they have to go after trans people, I'm really happy he doesn't. So I got too many trans friends to put up with that shit. Let's get this fish done because it goes so quickly. This is color. I'd probably leave these bands open for color. But it's just a little, honestly, it was the last thing I drew. And literally it's like, I'm looking at it all and I go, what does it need? And I think everything in terms of layout all ties together. I'm going to do a rubber stamp trick here on the reflected underwater thing. I think that'll be cool. Don't think I'm going to work on that tonight because it's tricky and boring to look at me, because it's me basically taking some of my my frisket, which is normally used for airbrushes, cutting off, masking off the areas I don't want the rubber stamp to go onto, hitting the rubber stamp, making sure the rubber stamp lands in the way I want to, and then inking the rest of it. And that would probably take half of tonight's stream time. So I think I'm going to just focus on the first DeliRiuM thing. Although, how are we doing time-wise already? 7:21. So yeah, I'm going to try and, I think an hour is roughly the ideal amount of time to steal your guys' availability. But I'll happily go to 8:30 or so if it's justified. So I think I'm gonna tackle this head, and if there's if it's still around 8, if I finish this in 40 minutes, then I might do, just because it'd be really fun, I might do the tongue sticking out head down here. So I'm trying to think, there was something else I watched. I went, oh, that wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. One second. There's something that's just come out to streaming that is new. Just gonna look at my streamers. I think it's stop motion, or it's about stop motion. It looks really, really good. So as soon as I get a moment, I'm gonna. Yeah, it's called Stop Motion, horror movie. If you're into horror movies, it's good. I'm hearing nothing but good word of mouth on it, so I'm looking forward to watching that. I caught the documentary 20 Days in Mariupol. So if you're all interested in the horror that Putin's putting Ukraine through, that's a good documentary to watch. But I think a lot of people saw it on the big screen. And I watched Damsel. Did I watch it this week or the previous week? Feels like I watched it a week previously. It was all right. It had some nice special effects. It was nice seeing the actress from Stranger Things getting to play slightly older roles. It was a little heavy-handed, but I think for the target audience, it was allowed to be. I think there has to be. It's very much it's like taking classic hero tropes and making it the damsel's the hero trope, which has been. I mean, I grew up. I was young enough to see Paperback Princess come out when I was like initially considering doing children's books as a career. And so I'm very familiar with flipping on that. So it was good to have the damsel has to save herself type trope. So that was good. It was a little heavy-handed. Yeah, I think it was. It wasn't a great film. It was a very good film for an audience that needs films like that. So I'm okay with it being a little underwhelming. But I recommend it for young would-be feminists, male or female. Yeah, I'm a lefty. If you weren't sure about that yet, I want to do funky lines for the boxes for DeliRiuM because I think that's apropos. Prisoners was so good. Hey, Mitch, how you doing? Yeah, Prisoners. You're talking about the Denis Villeneuve one with Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman. That was such a good movie. Is that high? Should I put this up a little higher just to make sure it's fully in the center? I'll probably zoom in a bit too. There we go. That's probably better. Well, things are not too bad in Canada. We're mid-March. Weather's starting to get better. There was supposed to be some snow tomorrow, but I think they canceled that. So that's good. We're getting to the point where I can put some of my plants outdoors again, which is better for them. Excuse me. I talk so little when I'm in the studio as long as I've been that my throat gets a little dry. I don't know that anything else is new in Canada. I think everything's right now is focused a little bit down stateside because you have that kind of election coming up, which has everyone terrified. I also wonder, is Canada good? I had a discussion with a friend of mine, and we were talking about America and how America is absolutely convinced it's good. And we both kind of agreed that America is only good if you ignore most of its history. And he said, "Oh, you better never say that in public." And here I am saying it on stream. I think anything close to a colonial power is just too much evil in its history to consider itself good unless it's completely amended for it. So I don't think Canada's good either. So we're old. We're not good. We're just around still. Too political? Probably. Trying to remember, does DeliRiuM have different colored eyes? Same with the UK. Same with, the Netherlands was a colonial power. Germany is a colonial power. France, Spain, all of them. All of them have done incredibly vile things, and they want it to be forgotten. I think it's a close thing to decide whether or not who was worse, Americans or the British. Since they're both very active on the global stage, I think they're still racing. Yeah, I think as an adult, I get this wonderful thing where I'm inking. What I can do is I can literally set up my board, this board right here, if I'm inking on standard pages, or another board, if not, and I can literally have my monitor and eyesight, and I can just look up and rest my eyes from inking constantly, and watch something that not too intensely. Like, if there's something I really want to focus on, like if I want to take a break and I really, really want to watch something intense, I don't draw. But if it's something I know I'm going to not necessarily need my full brain and full attention, then I can just ink away in it. And Damsel was something I inked away at while I was on. I liked the voice casting for the dragon was great. If you're a fan of The Expanse, you probably recognized her. I'm not going to even attempt to try and say her name. You missed the start of the video. This isn't handling. This is digital. This is all digital. I am a terrible letterer. Sorry, Mitchell. Sorry to disabuse you of that notion. I am a terrible hand letterer. If I can trace off type reasonably well and replicate it, but to do something this price with the sizing, I needed Photoshop to play around. I went through so many different fonts, bouncing back and forth. I ended up creating the eye. And honestly, I created the eye because I accidentally put two E's. Even though I can spell DeliRiuM correctly, it's not like I'm dyslexic or DeliRiuM, but accidentally put two E's in the initial thing. And I'm looking at it and go, something's wrong. And it made it, all the different letter forms made it harder for me to decide where I made the spelling mistake. And I said, oh, I know. Close my eyes, start spelling it out loud. I went, oh, God. So I got rid of it. Couldn't find any, and in my font library, I got like thousands of fonts. I couldn't find an I that I liked in there. So but I wanted, especially since I got a backwards I here, I flipped it. I want, how about a backwards leaning eye? So I just do a rectangle in Photoshop and cut out the strip and then distorted it. No, this is straight up Photoshop. I would probably use, this is a font I distorted with the warp tool, the hello. So that was, I'd have to go look at my font. It was like something that looks vaguely like comics, but is not good enough for comics. None of these are actually literal comics. These are all, what's the term for display? They're all display fonts. So not one of these are comic specific. So they're all display fonts, and I just wanted a nice chaotic flow. So I mean, I went through about, I don't know, I kind of knew I wanted this sort of D to begin with, because I mean, she started as Delight, so let's get an old-fashioned fancy font to start it off with. So I went about 4 or 5, black letter, a few others, and I went with this one. Then I found this nice kind of broken up one, and then back to an elegant shape. This is the one I told this one. This is, I think this font is an R from Magneto, which is a font I like. That's a standard, like, just display font. It's not Arial or anything, but it's a nice, very square serif font. And I just flipped it. The last second I flipped it and dropped the dot down close to the eye so it would read a little bit better. This is something, they probably use it for Diary of a Wimpy Kid or something, because that's what the letter forms look like. And this is from like some other display font. And the rest of the letters are all much more broken up. But I like the symmetry at the top of the M, but the asymmetry here at the bottom. None of the stuff you're seeing. Great. Sorry about that. Yeah, doing the lettering first here allows me to go old school with it, but also can go in, and if I don't like any of these letter forms, it's there. I can work on top of it. I can change things, and it's there. Right? It gives me something to fix, as opposed to hoping I get it right in a digital layer. You know what? While I'm at it, why don't I check to see if DeliRiuM does? Maybe I'm just overthinking, because Bowie has those. One pupil open, the other one really dilated. Sorry, one pupil small, one really dilated. DeliRiuM comics eyes. They are mismatched. All right, hang on. Oh, they're just different colored. Well, I'm working in black and white. So what I'm going to do is, I already have a dark eye there. Yeah, doing the lettering like this first is quite wonderful, especially since this is the only word balloon and this is the only text here. It would be, I am so tempted with, not the witch book, because I've already started on it like that, but I am very tempted for my Viking horror book, We Bring Only Death, that I'm working on after the witch book, to get it lettered first. And there's not much lettering, at least in the first story. So that would be a very easy process for that book. So I'm really, really tempted to do all the lettering like this for We Bring Only Death. I think that would be pretty darn cool. Yeah, let me get this eye here. So that gives me the mismatched eyes. And it's also, you know what, it's there's a part of me, I mean, the first comics art, when I used to collect comic art, all that art had lettering on it, all of it. And there is a part of me that would kind of like maybe avoiding digitally lettering, maybe literally drawing everything the way I would draw it, and finding someone who can still hand letter at least the first story of We Bring Only Death. And then, you know, just hope I don't screw up any pages and wreck the lettering. That would be the big rub all the time. So this hair up here is going to be a nice big mess of curls, just everywhere, filling up the whole panel. So hopefully that's not too boring. Let me know if it is, and I'll move on. At any point you guys go, yeah, We Bring Only Death is going to be the overall title for my Viking horror series. So the aim for that is, I think everyone knows that I'm doing a collection of short stories based on the world of my witches called, you know, Tales from the Witch House, Coven Tales from the Witch House. So I got like 8 or 10 stories of that. Everything I can finish by October will be in that book. And then the following spring, summer, I'll let the Zoop people tell me what the best date is. I'm going to do the first We Bring Only Death book, because I got about 12 ideas already for a really good supernatural Viking horror stories. And to my mind, I said this before, Viking horror is like the Reese's peanut butter cups of genre fiction. You get all these fantastical elements to play with, and it's horror. And considering that the Vikings, their primary job when you're approaching them, when they're Viking, is going out, killing people and taking their stuff, you can do pretty much whatever you want to them, and they deserve it. So I just think it's just a good fit for how I build stories, the type of stories I want to tell. Basically, the first one is Vikings go to hell and have to fight their way out. None of the stories so far actually have any of the Norse gods. I've done some drawings with my own design, so I know where I'd probably go. Like I did years ago, I did a drawing of Thor, and I gave him like really very goaty armor, considering the reusability of his goat chariot. I figured there'd be a high sense of rams in this character design. Odin, I did wings. So I don't know. I do have a story that I want a friend of mine to draw, and I don't think he's ever going to draw it. Vikings. This one's really fun. I think it's really fun. What happened is these Vikings are celebrating victory of a battle, and someone shows up, and clearly the guy's, you know, been traveling through 100 miles of bad trail. I was going to say bad road, but were there roads? Did the Vikings deal with roads? And he asks if this in fact the Viking group he's been looking for. He's looking for the most fiercest warriors anyone heard of, and they go, "Yep, this is us." And the guy stabs himself in the gut, and then he tells him he was cursed. He was cursed that wherever he dies, his curse will pass on to those who witness his death and do nothing to stop it. And the curse is you're gonna suffer, and everyone around you is gonna suffer until you're dead. It's like, you're better off dead. And the curse was given them by a Russian god, Chernivog. And and this guy's wishes, because his entire village is cursed, and his only hope for the people he loved from his village to survive was for someone to actually bring the curse back to Chernivog. So the Vikings go, well, I guess we have to go kill a god. So my story is these Vikings and their Roman visitor, because I need an outsider for this story. They go deep into Russia and they travel into the land of the gods there to fight and kill Chernivog, which just doesn't go well. But doesn't go well for anyone. So that's a really fun. That's the type of to really dive into. Just crazy fucked up stories where it was amazing, primitive Viking brutality and playing around with different mythologies that are synonymous from the era. So I think it's going to be big fun. And the idea is that every story will be 70 to 100 pages. Some might go longer, some might. Well, I don't want to go below 60 pages. So 60 to 130, 40 pages. Take as long as it needs for the story to be as good and satisfying. So not drawing to a page count, but drawing to an actual story conclusion. And then crowdfund them. And the idea, after I get like 3 or 4 of them, do a complete book and do that through the book trade. Because then we can do a hardcover, and looking at the budgets for how things are done in crowdfunding with mail, hardcovers kill campaigns. You have to hit such high numbers with hardcovers. So the goal would be to do these beautiful paperbacks for the individual chapters, and then do retail version hardcovers with additional material to justify getting them for the people who supported the individual books. But it'll also make being able to go hardcover through the direct market means that we'd actually be able to do them cheaper than we'd be able to do them through a crowdfunding, if that makes sense. All this math, man. I just want to create comics, not do math, but you have to. Hey, Crazy Cat. See, I've done a handful. I've done a drawing of Hela, not Hela. One of the Norse goddesses with a horn. My friends the Pernas do these mythology trading card sets, and for a while I was able to fit that into my schedule, and I can't anymore, which is unfortunate. But that's where I got to do Odin and Thor and Freya and Freya, Freyr and Freya. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff. And I'm trying to remember the name of the goddess who has the golden horn. I drew her as well. Then I just couldn't anymore. It sucks. Sometimes, things just got to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw these curls everywhere. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, where is it? There you go. I'm going to take my Molotow One for All white paint, and I'm going to draw some strands because the hair is going to be crazy. I'm going to draw strands over it, let it dry, and then I'm going to, I'll even show it here. So you may not be able to see that I drew some white lines in there. I can see them from where I'm at. What it does is it cuts off all the patterned line work I've already done here. And it allows me to actually essentially make it look like I've drawn hairs in depth. God, is he done his Ragnarok? It feels like he stopped working on it. I love that book so much. I would love to, I think there was a comic adaptation of Gaiman's Norse mythology. Craig Russell ran art director on that. So I love his work, but some of his artistic choices don't really gel with me. But I think there's a collected edition I should really get because I love Neil's take on the stories and I'd love to see it. But there's also part of me that wants to just draw the Norse myths myself. So, too close to home. I came out recommended. Oh, okay. I'm happy I got recommended. Vague comments not finished. Not sure I get that answer. I must have missed something. Oh yeah. Not finished. Yeah, if it felt like it just left as a. Sorry, it took me a second to pinch it back together. It really doesn't feel like he got to finish it. So I really want him. And health has to come first. Time has to come first. It seems like he's doing mostly commissions right now. That might be where his head's at right now. And so, more power to him. Let him do what he wants to do. If it never gets finished, that's unfortunate, but I mean that's life. He's not as young as he used to be. So any new project and honestly, the level at which he was producing work on Ragnarok was just as good as anything else he's done to my mind. So I am perfectly happy with him taking as long as he needs to produce work he's happy with. Exactly. I mean, it's like if he gets a final volume, if the next volume would be the final one, it felt like it was like really coming to a close, but not finished, like not completely pinched off, if you know what I mean. I want to make sure that this fish sticks through, so I'm going to go really dark with the hair down here near the fish, which is okay. In fact, I'm going to jump up to a heavier weight pen. Yeah, let me just outline the fish a little darker. Get some real shadow in there. Actually, the darker I go down here, the more the highlights I render out will show up. Yeah, I'll take any and all Walt Simonson work he wants to produce from now until he decides he's done. Probably this week I'm going to see Dune 2 again because it's so good. I just really want to see it again. Oh my god, so good. What's interesting is the amount of people I see posting as if it's some sort of revelation that they didn't particularly enjoy Dune 2. I love Colleen. I love Colleen's work. I remember trying to think how to phrase this properly. I remember seeing her first work and going, "Wow, that's different." And this is before I saw her Distant Soil work, and I think it was around the same time I first saw Mary Wiltshire's work, and this is I'm a God, I was in my teens at this point, so forgive the thought for how poorly it was formed, but it was a propos for the 80s. The idea was the work was incredibly feminine, but still great, despite the shift away from the overtly masculine look of comics at that time. I mean, I'm thinking like John Byrne, Frank Miller, all those guys, Neil Adams. There's a real testosterone edge. John Mishima, most of all, I guess I should, if I'm going there. And like those are the guys I grew up liking. But Mary Wiltshire, Jan Duursema, Colleen Duran, their take on it was different enough to make it inherently exciting, even if it didn't feel like they were doing work that they loved. Yeah, I saw that. I got to see it, and I think it was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. So beautiful. I didn't get a copy. I'm kind of pissed about that. So, no perks that way. So get the cross direction in the hair there. So that was so that period in the 80s. I think it was Mary Wiltshire was doing Star Wars. Jan Duursema was doing Arian, the Lord of Atlantis. And Colleen had done, I think she had just finished doing some Spider-Man stuff, but she was already moving on to do work with Straczynski at Top Cow. And it was just great to see these different, and then I backwards found out about A Distant Soil. So that's good. Hey, Frankie, how you doing? Just missed me raving about going to see Dune 2 this week. Well, since Frankie here, I'll whip this out again. So, Frankie, if you're still here, I did finish last week's Desire piece. So I was really happy. Made a heart-shaped stamp out of an eraser. So I got to do even more texture. And I think I got the subtleties between male and female going here. And today I'm working on DeliRiuM. And I decided to go even crazier. Instead of like 2 panels, essentially, I'm doing like 6. So I think the blue shows up all right. So penciled everything with big crazy DeliRiuM lettering I did in Photoshop. So you're drawing away too. Great. Yeah, I think Colleen is a true gem as a person, a creator, and just a person to know online. I've met her a few times in person. I haven't spent enough time with her to call her a friend. So it's online acquaintance is enough at this point. So it's like she is just so generous with her time and her experiences. How good she is at sharing warning signs about dealing with certain people. How to see when you're dealing with someone who's like truly toxic. I just realized I didn't finish drawing that upper lip. I'm so jealous, Frankie. Oh my God. If you're allowed a +1, I'll fly down. Assuming that'd be your +1. Wow. Q&A with Villeneuve. Oh my God. I'd be torn between asking him story questions on why he cut certain things versus certain visual questions. Oh my God. Wow. It's because I want to ask him if he cast Christopher Walken, because I might be misremembering. There's that famous video of Christopher Walken's dancing. And I think, if I remember correctly, that song quotes How the Fremen Move as part of the dance. And it just feels like if I have to go back and double check to see if Elam's costume changes are amazing too. I hope they tape it and broadcast it. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like again. I think we talked about this last week. I read Dune like forever ago, so my memory of it's shaky. But some of it really, really, yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's like I almost feel that getting Christopher Walken, and that was my first thought when I first saw that he was cast as Emperor Shaddam. Um, well, to be honest, my first thought was, isn't he a little old? But then my second thought was, I wonder if he's casting him because of that song. Um, and I just thought, yeah, that's a fanboy thing to do. I mean, it's like, I mean, I think every director would want to work with Walken while Walken's still working. And yeah, because it felt like Christopher didn't really understand the movie he was in. It could just be me. Yeah, he just had this presence. You're absolutely right. His presence was more appropriate than needing him to be fully engaged in what the Emperor was. He's that type of actor where it's like, whatever he brings to it, it's going to have an energy to it that no one else can have. And I was thinking, it's like, well, if I was going to cast someone, yeah, I'm thinking, it's like, I'm trying to think who else could, if you could have got him out of retirement. Although I don't know if you could get him out of retirement for a genre film. I don't know if you go, I retired after doing Perfect Thread. Why would I want to do, this cameo as Emperor? I think Daniel Day-Lewis could have brought a level of gravitas that would have been impossible to match. But shy of him, because I think Daniel Day-Lewis was also at the right age. He had the same sort of physicality I always thought that the Emperor would have, even though I never thought about casting him in that role. But Christopher Walken he's Christopher fucking Walken. I mean, you can never, Gene Hackman's way older. If you could travel back in time 25 years, 30 years, the Gene Hackman from what would be best? Actually, you know what? Yeah, I would do something different. And Gene Hackman made me think of it. Roy Schneider. Roy Schneider from the time of All That Jazz. If you brought him in as the Emperor, there would have been this weird power and fragility going hand in hand. I think Roy Schneider, 80s era of Roy Schneider would have made an amazing Emperor. Because I'm thinking about the thing that sticks in my memory, and I could be wrong, this could be my memory playing tricks on me. The only reason he has the Atreides killed is he couldn't find a way to bond the Atreides to his daughter and then make them the heirs. So they were, soon as Leto had this love relationship with his concubine and he had an heir, alliance became impossible and conflict to Shaddam was inevitable. And I think that suggests a certain weakness in Shaddam, that his inability to see a different way through meant he had to kill the Atreides and let the monstrous Harkonnens get more power. And which to my mind means, as powerful as the Emperor is, I can see that too. But my idea was that Shaddam loved Leto and wanted him to be the heir. And when Leto went and made decisions for himself as opposed to for the Empire, that hurt Shaddam so much that he literally said, okay, this is the way we have to go, because I clearly can't count on him to do what I need him to do. And I think you would need, in the scenes with Paul, I'd want to see that level of vulnerability come out. That, I loved your dad. Like, instead of that your dad was a weak man, which was delivered really well. But I would have liked to see some like heartbreak in that line too, because of reading the book. Yeah, Gene, yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't again like dream casting. We're reaching back to actors 20, 30, 40 years ago. Um, I can't think of, again, apart from Daniel Day-Lewis, I can't think of anyone else in the movie that I'd replace with a different actor. Um, Even Jason Momoa, who's he's going around mocking Duncan Idaho's name apparently, was perfect as Duncan Idaho. Um, I mean, Jason Momoa could go the rest of his career never making anything of any value, but he played Duncan Idaho to the best ability that Duncan Idaho should have been played, and he brought that level of Momoa charisma to it that I was just very happy with. Yeah, there was. Yeah. Wow, look at that camera. Just I'm not moving. I'm not changing the focus. It's just bouncing in and out of focus there, isn't it? Yeah. Nope, that's not changing anything. Um, the Gola shows up. Does the Gola show up in the second book or the third book? I think we talked about this last week. And my memory, like I tapped out on God Emperor. Oh, so he does show up. Okay. So we will see him again. Um, I couldn't take Herbert's sexism and homophobia anymore. I think that was a bigger issue. Um, um, I liked his initial ideas, his cultural explorations, but just the weird way he basically said, if you're gay, you have to be a villain. So the Harkonnens are going to be deeply into homosexual behavior. And I guess if you're in the 1960s, you could do that, but it's not something I'd put up with. I'm happy Villeneuve got rid of that. Um, I actually got like a little online tussle with someone who said no, you had to maintain that vision of Herbert, and I'm just like, so you probably have a problem with the gay people, and you wouldn't answer. So that's a lot of hair. I know, and the bizarre thing, I think it's Brian Herbert basically said that Frank never could forgive him. They were estranged to the point where Frank didn't allow his gay son to see his mother before she passed. And to me, that kind of like really, that's gross. That's seriously terminally gross. Look at these big looping whorls of hair. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really looking forward. I know that I think he's going to do Rendezvous with Rama. That's the rumor. He's going to do that between the movies, and he might do a second movie between to allow more space, because there's that if I remember correctly, it's 12 years between Dune and Dune Messiah. So like the jihad is essentially over, if I remember correctly. So if Denny goes away and he does another one of the unfilmable science fiction classics, and then hopefully I'd love to see him do something like Sicario again. Um, Something more down to earth, more measured, and I don't want to say human, but something dealing with the world that we're living in now. Uh, yeah, 500 million. Oh my god, it's almost like Dune 2's changed film. It's like everyone was talking about, blockbusters are dead after Oppenheimer and Barbie. Kind of like everyone drank everyone's milkshake last year, and the studios had no idea. Oh my! Turns to one of my favorite subjects to bash on AI. During last year, it leaked out that the studios are increasingly using AI programs to predict box office of these movies. Hey, Brendan, thanks. Um, and one of the stories leaked that Indiana Jones was expected to make over 500 million. It didn't. There's two other movies that were supposed to be huge and weren't. And they predicted that Barbie was going to make something like maybe 125 and Oppenheimer was going to make like 80 and it was going to be a big loser, but they made it because of the prestige. And those two movies ended up making all the money. I mean, all my bashing of Christopher Nolan as a director aside, I am incredibly happy when his weird ball movies. I think he's been making just nothing but weird movies in terms of studio sense ever since he finished with Batman. So I'm perfectly happy with him just making his weird movies that frustrate me a bit and still making hits out of them. I still wish he would have like a director of photography who would stop him from making some of his stupid calls. Yeah, Zaslav's a fucking moron. Oh no, but I mean, his success with Batman allowed him to do Inception. It's the old one for you, one for me approach. But since he actually made those three Batman movies, I feel he can just do. I didn't dislike. I loved Barbie. I didn't dislike Oppenheimer. I felt it was overrated, and I think Frankie would agree with me on that. She's still here. God, I'm gonna say it again. I hate Zaslav. He is endemic of the cancer that's running the movie industry right now. It's no longer people who love movies. It's all people who are basically just accountants and business runners who don't understand art and narrative or anything. So I'm venting. Oh no, I don't think he's necessarily changed his approach to movie making at all. I mean, you look at, I mean, he's still making ostensibly blockbusters. He's getting all the resources to make the biggest weird movies. I don't think a studio on its own would have done Inception, but because he made Batman such a huge hit, they let him do Inception, and it made a lot of money. Same with Interstellar. Same with Dunkirk. I mean, just think of the studio meeting with any other director. Says, yeah, I want to do a time broken retelling of the rescue of Dunkirk, but you're not going to be entirely sure what the timeline is until about 40 minutes into the movie. Yeah, it's Nolan gets amazing performances out of everybody. He does get some incredible images on screen. He's not a great visual storyteller. I don't think he's. Yeah, he is. Oh my god. Well, we were talking about that last week. I mean, it's like there's not a movie he makes other than the ones I have to watch with subtitles that I don't just watch it. I think I've seen Prisoners like 12 times, and that's probably the one I've seen the least of. Just so good. Sicario. Oh my god. Some of those tracking shots when they go into Mexico. Oh my god. I would say, well, okay. I'm probably not as hard on him as you are, Frankie. I love Insomnia. I love Inception. I thought the Batman movies were good, considering the movie quality at the time. Okay, I liked Inception a lot. I thought it was really clever visually. I'll also admit I can be bamboozled by amazing visuals. The cities rolling over were just. I think my pants got hard. And Sicario. Oh my god. Okay, I think Nolan and Villeneuve aren't in the same league. I think Nolan is an amazing Hollywood director, but I put Hollywood in there. I think Villeneuve is an amazing director. Period. Hopefully that qualification communicates. Cillian Murphy's performance, though, I don't think there's a bad performance in that movie. I really don't. I really don't. And if you lean towards performances, I can entirely agree what people would think those movies are better. I wouldn't wish being Terrence Malick on anyone. It feels like, and this is I like Terrence Malick films, but it feels like Terrence Malick is so racked with doubt, despite his ability to capture incredibly beautiful imagery. It would feel like yeah. Well, okay, we're talking Fincher, and I think Fincher is in Villeneuve. Villeneuve and Fincher are in the same league. Nolan, and again, it's like I will watch. Nolan makes movies out of shit I love, out of my pure geek love of genre. But The Killer is also something I think we talked about how underrated it is, and I have to think that that's entirely because of the Netflix model. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Frankie, and I agree with Brendan. I don't know. I'd want to work with Fincher. I have a feeling it's also my experience. I haven't done storyboards in almost 20 years. Just the fact that he disassembles everything he shoots and reassembles it into something he can use. There's a level of perfection. It's almost like Fincher movies are Vermeer paintings. And Villeneuve is like those big, massive Rembrandt paintings. And Christopher Nolan's like Sargent. He's got this beautiful surface to it, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, no, I've heard that too. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Wow, I love the film talk we got here. God, it'd be good to actually just have like a bunch of artists set up drawing, and we're talking about a movie and maybe drawing something about the movie. It doesn't have to be, but talking about the movie. Just have like a beautiful like artist talking about film, and I'd totally get Frankie involved if I could. I'd twist her arm. Although she could probably break mine. He's one of those guys. There's a comic artist, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who frames the storytelling so perfect. And it's perfect in a way where he can show you where the action's going without the reader understanding that that's where we're moving, even though you look back at it, you go, oh, that was inevitable. And I think Fincher does that. There's that sequence where he breaks into his own estate again. And it's so well done. Oh my God. And there was a video that went up this week. Yes. There's a video I want to watch where he breaks down the fight scene with the big massive guy in The Killer. And I need to find the time to watch that. I really appreciate it. I started watching, I realized I couldn't give it the attention it needed, because whenever there's this great shot by shot thing with a great director, you want to give it 100% of your attention. You just want to take in everything, man. Oh, the Tilda Swinton, amazing. She could have played the Emperor in Doom. Oh my God, Tilda and Fassbender. It was just like, you just know that Fassbender was like, yes, I get to work with Tilda. How are we doing time-wise? 8:14. You know what? Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get to another. I'm just going to finish this last little corner of the hair. I I'm going dark here because there's going to be a lot of hair I'm going to be drawing on top of it. I'm going to white paint out and then draw hair on top of it. So it'll give it more visual depth. I'm going to be doing some of that down here. And I'm going to be doing, like I did this big looping whorls. I'm going to do some hair coming over top of it to give it more depth. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I always worry whenever an actor starts. I mean, I didn't care when Tom Cruise started racing cars because it's Tom Cruise. Who cares? When Paul Newman was racing cars, I mean, I had this weird kind of like secondary stress. So Fassbender racing cars, I'm going like, oh God, I don't want it. I don't want that headline. I don't want that headline. Fassbender plays psychos better than anyone on the fucking planet. Like he just gets. I don't know much about his history, but he seems to understand that level of mental bad wiring, and he comes across like oh God, I'm blanking the name of it. Where he's the sex addict. Paul Newman. Oh my God. Paul. I had a man crush on Paul Newman from such a young age, and the stupidest reason to. I already seen him in a couple of movies. I just thought he was really like Butch and Sundance. I thought he was the Sting of all things. But then I saw him on Donahue. I don't know if you guys remember Donahue. And he was talking about his salad dressings, his political activism, which of course Donahue was 100% on board with, and a bunch of other things, stuff I did not know because the media didn't really dive into that back then. We're talking like late 70s, early 80s. And he was just like, he basically said, when it comes right down to it, all I am is an actor. So if I'm doing anything of value out of that, that's what really matters. And just to hear like someone so famous who was so good at what he did. Oh, you know what else I'm forgetting? The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean. Milius hated it. Fuck John Milius. I loved it. I thought it was a pure charm Western. Everything from getting his neck screwed up, getting, coming in and saying, I'm a real badass, and getting the shit kicked out of him by the guy in that, all the guys and girls in that bar that he takes over and becomes the judge of. Oh, man. Oh, Color of Money. I think that's, honestly, despite, there's movies I recognize that are better by Scorsese, but I think Color of Money is my favorite Scorsese film. He got in a performance out of Tom Cruise. I don't think, outside of Magnolia, I don't think Cruise worked as hard as an actor than in Color of Money. Yeah. Slapshot. Oh my God. Oh God, what's it's not Double Jeopardy, where he plays a lawyer who takes over the case and almost screws it up. Yeah, After Hours is probably my second favorite Scorsese film. Yeah, The Verdict. Yes. Yeah. It's like if I'm a comics guy, but if I ever get stupidly famous, I am literally going to try and focus everything to try and do more good with it. I mean, it's like these pieces. I think I already saw it. Like, so when I'm done, so next week I'm doing Destiny, so I'll be 5, and then the following Friday I'm going to put all 5 up on my big cartel shop. And apart from my actual cost of like shipping and all that stuff, everything's going to go to my local food banks. I just, the idea of people going hungry, I literally have nightmares about that. Being surrounded by people who are starving. And it's more personal, like thinking about like my son having to ever deal with that stuff. I mean, it's like I'm waiting for a payment right now, but I saw a reminder today that the Irish famine was essentially created by the British. Yes, there was a potato blight, but the reason why the Irish were starving is not because there was a lack of food, it's because the British were taking all the other food, and all that was left for the Irish is the potatoes. And I seen some Irish sources saying, in memory of the Irish potato famine, please remember that what's happening in Gaza is a manufactured starvation. So I donated again today. I didn't really have the money for that. And then my car died. So, so karma not doing it. Wow, this box is just going to be full of hair, but I'm going to be doing like layers of hair. Maybe I should just leave this top little corner blank. Yeah, was it last weekend? I think it was last weekend. I went to start it, and it just sits there. I work at home, so I don't get to drive my car as much as I would like to, especially in winter. So the battery was started, and I realized I hadn't driven it in about 10 days. So I figured, okay, it's just not being driven enough. I got a nice $100 jump start, and drove for about half an hour in the highway, which is what they recommended. And today it didn't start again. So it might be I didn't fully charge up the battery like I should have. I should have driven it 40 minutes or so. But it was dead again today. So it could be that there's a bad connection somewhere. The alternator needs work, or I need a new battery. Or I just need to drive it for like 40 minutes straight in the highway just to get the damn thing fully charged. So, I'll talk my son into doing a road trip with me next week or something. But yeah, so it just sucks. But no, the bigger thing was it's like so now I've donated twice to Gaza famine relief, and I hope the aid gets to them. Yeah, just something about we have so much food around this planet, and all the wrong people are in control of who gets it, and I think that is an inexcusable evil to me. So I have my hangups. So. So you can see, like, I'm literally drawing new loops of hair on top of the other ones. That's showing up. Yeah, exactly. It's so food banks are a regular thing for me. And food banks since COVID have been even more in demand. And despite government saying, "Oh, look, we're doing so much better economically," no, it's just the rich people are doing better, which is always their metric. There's more people unemployed. There's more people looking for work. There's more people going hungry. The sooner we get something like a universal basic income to address this stuff, which would actually force governments to get rich people to pay their fair share of taxes, blah, 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 blah. I'm a lefty, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are tired of hearing this. But the sooner we get to the point where governments have to tax the wealthy the way they should be taxed, the sooner we'll actually see some of these problems getting solved, because the rich people would much rather see problems get solved than pay more taxes. So forcing them to do something to help people would basically force the wealthy to come up with alternate ways to make sure things don't cost them as much. And your universal basic income would do that. Wealth tax, absolutely. And I think you'd use that wealth tax to pay for a universal basic income. Yeah, I would love to wake up tomorrow and find out that we're just feeding everybody. Right? Like turn it around, basically say, okay, what we do is we're going to create a universal basic income. Everyone's going to get $2,500 a month. If they're unemployed, maybe do this, because you're always going to be some right winger who's going to try and put some means testing or other caveat on it. Basically say, if you're unemployed, what we're going to do is we're going to pay your rent first out of it, and you're going to get the remainder of it to spend as you need. If you're employed, you get all of it either directly deposited into your bank or onto a card. And honestly, that would, and just imagine, like, for children, it would give them an education credit, so everyone could get an education. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'm talking about Canada. My experience in Canada, where it's like we do have somewhat more substantial social safety net, even though right wingers are continually trying to dismantle it up here. UBI would instituted with decent social safety net on top of that. If you actually got universal health care in the US and UBI at the same time, I think things would help a lot. But not to get too political, especially as I'm winding down. I would love to wake up, one morning saying, "Oh, by the way, we're eradicating poverty because we can. We're eradicating hunger because we can. You're no longer gonna have to worry about some big business asshole killing your job because they just want to invest in this toy. Because you will still be able to live, eat, survive, and do whatever you want to do for a living." So. Yeah, yeah. All right. So yeah, I only got 1/6 of DeliRiuM done. Let me pull this back up here so you can see more of it. High as it goes. So I only got 1/6 of it, but I'll finish it by next week. It's a nice. It'll give me a little. I'll do like one of these every morning before I do my other work. This bottom one here, if you can see it, I'm going to be doing like white lines and have it imply that it's like in space. So lots of star field here. So that's me being cosmic. So yeah, and then next week it is Destiny, whom I've never drawn before. I'm really looking forward to this. I am just going to draw the one freaking figure though. I'm not going to do another 6-panel or multi-panel thing like this. That would kill me. So I want all of you guys to have an amazing week. I hope you get to do something you enjoy. I get to hope that the work that you're doing is something you enjoy. I hope you get to spend time with friends and family. And you know what? Come back next week if you can, and tell me about what movies and books you've seen. I love that discussion we're having about movies and books. And